Be happy in anticipation of what's coming. Abraham Hicks.
Hi, I'm Melinda Van Fleet, and welcome to the Good Karma Success Coach podcast. I'm a success coach, speaker, and business consultant, and my husband Ryan and I were laid off at the same time 10 years ago. We moved to the Florida Keys without jobs, not knowing anyone, hardly any money, and we never even been here. But we made it, and now we're living our best lives. And all along on our journey, I've said that someday when we get our quote-unquote shit together, we will help others. And since then, we've both done a lot of self-work and built successful businesses. So that day is here, and one of my ways of paying it forward is through this podcast. Each week, my intent is to be relatable and bring you tactical tips, tools, share my learnings and stories that can help inspire or transform you wherever you are in your career or general life and make an impact. I strongly believe that if I can do it, you can do it too. So what's stopping you?
Hi, everyone. Thank you in advance for tuning in. I know there's a lot of podcasts out there and people are on limited time more than usual. So I always appreciate every single listener, and I really love hearing from you and how you maybe picked up something in this podcast and even shared it with somebody else. So thank you, thank you, thank you. So when I was thinking of topics for this week, and I was looking at this master list I keep of topics because things always come to me in downloads and I journal them so I don't forget them. A tip for anyone out there that has the same thing, lots of ideas come to you, make sure you write them down so they don't leave you. And I was looking at my list and I was like, oh my gosh, this is crazy. I'm in my second year of podcasting and I've never given a podcast about manifesting. I probably haven't when I think about it, just because I know there's a gazillion manifesting podcasts out there. There's a gazillion manifesting coaches and courses and books, and they're all fabulous. So I always guess I kind of felt like, well, everyone can go somewhere else for that information. But I just feel really inspired to share some stories of my younger adult years. And I wanted to talk about them in relation to the fact that sometimes some of these courses have these testimonials where you think that once you manifest something or you think of it, you put it out there to the universe, it happens like in a week or happens like in 2 weeks. And, it always cracks me up because I'll read a testimonial and they'll be like, I took her course and manifested, $5,000 in 1 week, and that's great if that happened, but that's not always the case because everyone has different courses in life, paths that we're taking, different recipes, different energy flows. Everyone's on just a different path. So I wanted to share these stories because they're actually really interesting. And I wanted to share them in respect to helping anyone out there that's struggling with expectations, timeline. They may be frustrated. They may be, I'm doing all the work and nothing's happening. I wanted to share these stories because I want you to come away from this podcast and think about maybe other situations that you've had happen in your life where things have worked out magically. And you're like, oh my gosh, I can't believe that worked out. And we often get so busy in our days that we forget about all these great past experiences that we have and learnings that we have and things that have happened to us because we're so focused on, the next thing, the next big thing, the next action. And I'm one of those people too. So I speak about this from experience, and I've probably gone in my life from being like a 10 plus in terms of being impatient and high expectations. I'm an Aries, so it's just part of my sign. And I've really worked on it really, really hard. That's probably been one of my biggest things of self-work. I've got a bunch, but that's one of my bigger ones. And now I'm more in like under 5. I can control it better. I can control my expectations. And this is one of those tools that really help with expectations. Is just grounding yourself to past experiences of things that you have accomplished that were great. And then you kind of remind yourself, oh yeah, I'll get there. It's fine. It'll all work out. So the two stories that I want to share are really flashbacks from the past. So I'm going to be keeping you grounded in the fact that I graduated from college. I went to Purdue University in Lafayette, Indiana, and I graduated in 1993. So these are old stories, right? And these are stories before, there wasn't any Instagram or Facebook or social media. So no one was talking about manifesting. Like that was not a word that most people had heard of. If you had maybe parents, they were probably maybe hippies or spiritual. You were lucky. I wish I had parents like that. I certainly did not. That shared things like that with you. But that was way before the time, right? That was way before. So I was doing this work and things were happening for me. And I just kind of went about my day. So, think back to the quote I just had from Abraham Hicks, be happy in anticipation of what's coming. So back when I was in my early 20s, I was just living my life in a happy way, thinking, oh, wouldn't it be nice if all these things happened to me? So the first story I want to share is I was in Purdue, and part of being in the retail program was you could apply to go to FIT, which is the Fashion Institute of Technology, in New York City your junior year. It was part of the retail program at Purdue. You had to apply and you had to get accepted. But that was one reason I chose Purdue, because I always wanted to go to New York City. It was a dream of mine and I'd never been. My parents never took me. I wanted to go. So I had been planning on going. Well, I failed chemistry my sophomore year. I failed it. Big F. And so I couldn't go. I couldn't even apply because I failed one of the classes that are a prerequisite. So I was kind of bummed out. So I tucked that in the back of my head and I kept going. Senior year comes along and I'm interviewing for jobs. And I always loved Saks Fifth Avenue. I just thought that was just the aspirational store to shop in. When I would go shopping with my mom and we'd browse through Saks Fifth Avenue, the luxury of it, and just made me feel so good. And I just was like, I want to work for Saks Fifth Avenue someday. So I applied to work at the jewelry counter at the Saks Fifth Avenue store on Michigan Avenue in downtown Chicago my senior year as a job for when I graduated. I rented a car, I drove to downtown Chicago all by myself and interviewed for the job. And she looked right at me and she's like, you're graduating from college with a degree in retail. You should be in management. This is, you are going to be way overqualified to be a clerk at the jewelry counter. So I didn't get the job. So I was kind of bummed. But again, I went on with my happy way and kept interviewing for jobs and kept going about my business. Wouldn't you know that in 1996, okay, so again, I graduated from school in 1993, but in 1996, I ended up moving to New York City. So not just going for school as like a year program, but moving there to work for Saks Fifth Avenue. And I eventually became a buyer for their catalog division. So 3 years later, the universe aligned perfectly a vision of me working for Saks Fifth Avenue, but even bigger than I imagined. Here I was, interviewing to just work at the jewelry counter in downtown Chicago. And not knocking that, but obviously it wasn't what I was going to school for. And also moving to New York City. Amazing. It all magically came together within 3 years. That's nothing, especially when you're 20s. I mean, heck, 3 years is like, goes by so fast. Then part two is that when I was in high school, I was obsessed with the limited brands. So anyone my age, so I'm 49, anyone my age, a little bit older, a little bit younger, probably is aware of the limited brands. Back then, it was a huge deal. Les Wexner was a CEO and owner, and he started the Limited from the ground up, one store, and built it into this huge conglomerate of all these different stores. So at the time, there was the Limited Express, Victoria's Secret, Abercrombie, Bath and Body, Cacique, Lane Bryant. All of those were under his umbrella. So I had stars in my eyes. I was like, oh, the Limited brands, the Limited, you go to the mall and you'd go shopping at any of those brands. Such a big deal. And part of my high school social studies class was that I had to pick a stock and watch this stock throughout the whole year. And I remember getting the Wall Street Journal with my grandpa and sitting and looking at the stock and watching it go up and down and seeing how much money I made or didn't make. And my grandpa was always like, never buy retail stocks, they suck. So, but anyhow, I didn't care because it was Limited and I was like enthralled with the Limited. So again, my senior year of college, I interviewed for the Limited in Columbus, Ohio. My dad drove from Canton, Ohio, where he lived, to Indiana, to Lafayette, picked me up, took me to Columbus, Ohio. I remember I was so nervous. I interviewed at the Limited. I did not get the job. So again, 2 jobs I didn't get. I didn't get the job at Saks Fifth Avenue, and now I didn't get the job at the Limited in Columbus. So imagine, I'm feeling kind of bummer, right? But still, I pick myself up and I go on with my life and keep on going, keep on working, keep on taking action. And wouldn't you know, in 1998, towards the end of 1998, so at this point, I'm in New York working for Saks Fifth Avenue, and I wasn't happy living in New York. New York is not for me. I love to visit. It's a beautiful city. Lots of props, but I'm a girl from the Midwest. It just wasn't my vibe to live there. But Victoria's Secret stores called me and recruited me to come work for them in Columbus, Ohio. So here, magically, the universe called me out of the blue and recruited me to move to Columbus, Ohio. I got a $20,000 pay raise, a signing bonus, and they paid for all of my moving expenses. And I think I got like a month of free rent at their employee housing that was really nice in Germantown. Actually, it was really cool until I could find a place to live. Holy man, how does that all work out? It was magical, completely magical. So this recipe that the little components, the little ingredients that I had put together in my head, starting in high school, had come together magically just within less than 10 years, if you sit and think about it. I mean, I don't know exactly the dates of when I started thinking about the Limited and Saks Fifth Avenue and living in New York, but they were in high school probably. And they all magically came together within 10 short years. And all I had to do was follow the breadcrumbs. All I had to do was just apply, answer the phone, keep thinking positive, keep staying on the positive railroad tracks. I talk about rail tracks all the time with my husband. And I just had to keep in faith. I had to keep doing what I was doing in a positive fashion and keeping in faith. And things magically worked out. So I hope this story inspires you if you are just having a rough time. Because let me tell you, I know there are lots of people struggling out there. So my advice to you, my sage advice, is just keep in faith. Have a dream, have a goal, have some type of vision, put it out there, ask the universe for help. They are here to help you. Your whole tribe is here to help you. Every day, try to remember to make it a practice to ask for help. Ask for help on all sorts of things. It's crazy. All the goofy things I'm asking for help on, y'all would laugh, but I'm asking for help. Why not? It's free. Ask for help. Stay in faith. Stay positive. Stay on a positive railroad track as much as you can. That means turning off anything that's bad energy, bad information, talking to someone who takes you off that railroad track. Just stay on the positive railroad track. And I know it's hard. Every day you have to work on that. That is not an easy thing. Don't kid yourself. It is not easy. But just remind yourself, snap it back. Snap it back. if you need to stay back on that railroad track. And the more and more you can stay on that positive railroad track and just keep taking inspired action, follow the breadcrumbs, you will be surprised at how things come together. And I just want you to also be inspired that it's not always going to happen super fast. It might take a couple years. And I know that for a fact with Ryan and I, our recipe is really big. And so it's not going to happen tomorrow. So that's okay. We're good. We're happy. Every day we're learning and growing, and that's our purpose. And we're sharing that information, and that makes us feel good. So we just continue on that path. So as long as you're feeling good and you're staying on that path, just know that over time, these things will happen and you'll be like amazed. You'll be like, holy crap, I remember that Blonde Chicks podcast from 3 years ago. And she was right. All the stuff started to happen. So again, I hope this inspires you. Please share this with a friend or family member, someone who needs it. If you just help one person today, imagine then if that one person helps one person and how we can all help each other. That's what we're all meant to do. So I am working on starting my course. It's going to be a big course. It's going to be lots of nuggets, and I'm super excited. So I hope you stay tuned. I plan to launch it hopefully in conjunction with our book chapter, which is on confidence, which I've talked about on this podcast before, and also on the Crush It in Sales podcast. I talk about it a little bit more on that podcast just because it has more business aspect to it. But mindset, manifesting, confidence, all these tools and tips and stories that my husband and I have learned and worked on together for these past, we've been together 16 years now, I think. I can't keep track anymore. Time goes by so fast. That we started at ground zero. I'm going to say we started in a negative bucket. And I want to share those things with you all. So hopefully you can help others as well, and we can all help each other. So thank you so much for listening. I hope you're following me on Instagram, LinkedIn, or Facebook so we can connect. I would love to hear from you. You're also more than welcome to always email me at melinda@melindavanfleet.com. And my website is called The Good Karma Success Coach. Feel free to sign up for my free tips on believing in yourself and taking action, which also puts you into my monthly Mojo newsletter. So till next time, be grateful, be curious, always be learning, and you know what? Have some fun too. Thank you for listening.